All right, guys, what is up? Welcome to Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs and leaders who want to go to the next level when it comes to their brand. I am your host, Junior Frederick, and I have with me the man himself, Mr. Bobby Stealth, and we have a phenomenal topic for you today. But before we get into that, Bobby, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing phenomenal, Junior. I fell out of the loop. No tie Thursdays.
And don't feel out of the loop, Bobby. It was just a random thing.
Yeah. No, I
A
feel
random
good,
thing.
guys. I feel real good. I did back this morning, and recently I haven't been able to hit it the way I like to hit it. The long time. Like I like to be in the gym for like 90 minutes a day. So that's like two 45-minute sessions. But recently I've had to reprioritize some things so that I can continue to do all the things I need to do. And it's interesting. It's interesting because it's like I'm going to the gym now with a different mindset, with a quality mindset instead of a quantity mindset.
Yeah.
How much quality reps, how many quality minutes, time under tension can I get? And that's just bled into my entire life. It's like, okay, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. So I feel really good, really aware.
Yes, sir. Bobby, I actually did back as well this morning. I did back as well this morning. So I guess great minds think alike.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Now, before I get into our topic for today, I want to say phenomenal morning. I see Dr. Michelle. So shout out to Dr. Michelle. Shout out to Tia Rogers. And shout out to everybody else that is looking. Guys, don't be shy. Go ahead, put it in the chat. Let us know where you're listening in from. As usual, we like to know where all of our listeners are from. I know we have people from literally all around the world that look at this show. So it's always nice to just connect. So, Bobby, today's topic is going to be very like fundamental. So
Mhm.
today's topic is how to brand yourself like a leader. So as most of you know, our flagship course at this business is branded like a leader. So today we're actually going to talk about that. Like, how do you actually do that? Like, how do you actually brand yourself as a leader in the market? How do you get more impact? How do you get more income? How do you get more meaning? And then how do you get more money? How do you touch more lives? And most importantly, how do you step into a place where you live in a life that is your ideal life? Sean always says that you build your ideal life, and then the business is meant to support your ideal life. So today we're going to be talking about the steps, the 7 steps to branding yourself as a leader in your industry, regardless of what industry this is. This is going to be very deep. It's going to be very transformational, very educational, a little bit of motivational as well. So if you're looking at this live, I'm going to ask you my only ask, like we do this for free. My only ask is if you find value from the show, just share this out with like one other person who you know needs this kind of information, right? So, Bobby, before we go to our first break, is there anything that you'd like to say to the audience?
No, nothing that I'd like to say at this time. Let's get into it.
All right, guys. So we'll be right back after this quick break. Stay tuned. This is Breakfast with the Brand.
When I think of brand you, I think of being your best self, your most authentic. The reason why we were able to crush business, absolutely dominate in business without having the marketing list, without having the email huge list, without having the Facebook ads and the advertising budget, without knowing the algorithm. The reason we were able to do this is because I branded myself. I told my authentic story and I was comfortable in my skin. Why? Because it was that time in the world where everything was shifting. It was 2020, March. So you remember what happened during that time. It was like the world was coming to an end. So you didn't have anything to hold back. So I chose to give everything that I had and be everything that I am. And because I was that, because I branded me, because I was authentic, everything shifted. And people wanted more. And they wanted to know more about me and how they could become more comfortable in their skin. Listen, guys, when you brand you and not what you do, you're going to add a 0 to the world, but you'll also add a 0 to your revenue. Let's grow. Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. but they're looking for the three I's: the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the three E's and the three I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence.
All right, guys, so we are back, and today's topic is how to brand yourself like a leader. Now, Bobby, I want to switch the hats for a little while, and I want to ask you a few questions. I mean, man, you've been there from the beginning, meaning that you've been there from the first edition of Branded Like a Leader when we had the original course. So my question to you is, based on your experience, based on you going through that course. Now, don't give away the course, right? But tell us about, what are some of the most important things that you've learned about branding yourself like a leader? Like, what does that even mean to you, having gone through the program and also having the real world experience, excuse me, of putting a brand out there, attracting clients, closing deals. Like I remember you, man, when you came in. I'm not sure if you're okay with me saying this, but I remember when you came in, you had a hoodie. The first video I saw you, you had a hoodie on. And me, I was no better. Trust me, guys, I was no better than Bobby. I was worse than Bobby when I came in. Um, and it's amazing how we've transformed. But from going from where you were to where you are right now, what does that even mean to you? What does it mean to you to brand yourself like a leader?
Man, this is such a powerful question because Branded Like a Leader did so much for me. It did so many things. One of the things that comes to mind is commitment. Commitment. Like when I was going through Branded Like a Leader, it was rigorous. Shaan would start at like 7, end at 11. Like what? 7 to 11 on some days, because the course curriculum would be like 2 hours. And then people would have questions. And Shaan was dedicated, and still to this day is dedicated to over delivery, making sure everybody gets what they came for. Boy, we'd be on a call until 11 p.m. at night. And what that taught me was that real leaders, the ones that you want to emulate, at least the ones that I want to emulate, serve. They serve. And that's one of the biggest things Branded Like a Leader showed me, is it showed me that serve, 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 and you'll get what you deserve. If your brand is not, if your business isn't attracting the clientele you want, or you're not making the money you want, it's normally a direct correlation to the service that you provide. And by service you provide, I don't mean your product. I mean the volume of quality that you pour into the marketplace for the benefit of others. And that's what Branded Like a Leader really showed me. It showed me that Shaan said, hey guys, I'm gonna give y'all 8 weeks of good stuff. And he gave us 44 hours of everything he had consumed over the past 10 odd something years. And he was just no holds barred. Boom, 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 boom. And people were getting results. So that's what I would say to that, Junior, is one of the biggest transformations that I experienced in Branded Like a Leader is that leadership begins with service. And the more you serve, the more you get what you deserve.
100%. I see Bradley. Shout out to Bradley from Texas. So let's get into that. I wanna make sure that we're speaking two languages here today, Bobby. So when I say that, what I mean is I want to make sure that we're serving the dreamers, the visionaries. We're speaking the dream language, but then we're also speaking the language to the people that are more earthy and contextual, right? So
Right.
to bring more context to that, to what Bobby's saying. So Bobby spoke about service, right? So what does that actually mean in the context of building a brand? Service to me means that you're producing or you're putting out valuable information with regards to what you do, whether it's CFO, whether it's like Dr. Michelle, where you're serving breast cancer survivors, whether it's like, Bradley that is helping professionals to hit new areas and new levels in life, with work-life balance, whether it's like Tia, who is serving people in so many phenomenal ways. There's a saying, Bobby, you sort of give away the secret, so you sell the secret. In fact, you give away the secret, but then you sell the implementation. And what that means is that you don't hold back. People often ask me, like, why do you come on in? Why do you give so much information away? Like, I literally, if you ask me a question, like 99% chance, I'll just give you the answer. I'm not going to hold I'm not holding anything back in my answer. And they're like, well, how do you monetize that? The way you monetize that is by giving away the secret and then selling the implementation. Because you know as well as I do, even if you tell people what to do, they don't want to do that stuff themselves. They don't want to do that stuff themselves. So when Bobby is talking about service, and especially in the context of branded like a leader, what we were taught is that you're supposed to put yourself out there, whether it's going live, whether it's, through email marketing, the 5W framework, whether it is just through the DMs, whether it is communicating with people one on one. You're supposed to put yourself out there, but just share a lot of valuable information. And what normally happens is when you share valuable, like actually valuable information, I don't mean like, those videos you click on, like how many of you have ever gone to YouTube? Let's say you're looking to do something, Bobby, like something simple, like let's say install a screen protector on your phone. And then you go onto YouTube and you're like, how to install a screen protector on my phone. A bunch of videos pop up. You click on them and they have absolutely nothing to do with setting up a screen protector on your phone.
Mhm.
We call like clickbait. So I'm not talking about doing that. I'm talking about actually telling people what they need to do, how they do it. This is what you need to do. This is the secret. Like actually giving it away. And once you enter that space of service, you end up positioning yourself as an expert in that space. And thus, if you do it long enough, that is one of the ways, one of the many ways that you end up branding yourself as a leader in that particular subject matter. So that was pretty interesting to hear you say that, Bobby. But just to give you some more
Yeah.
context to the content, service is a strategy. And I don't think many people realize that. It's a saying. A salesman had a saying. He said, if I give you something for free, then I have to sell you something. But if I sell you something, then I have to give you more than what you paid for. Let me say that again.
Yeah.
If I give you something for free, so guys, there's no such thing as a free lunch. If I give you something for free, most likely I can sell you something, meaning that I give you a sample. I could sell you something. But if you pay for something, I'm going to give you more than what you pay for. So if you pay me, I'm going to give you 10 times the value,
Mhm.
right? So service is a strategy. And once you go out there, once you serve people, you normally get what you deserve, like Bobby was saying.
Mhm. Yeah, that's amazing, Junior. I like that direction. It makes me think about my first deal. My first deal was for like $275 after branded like a leader. It's 275, and I was coaching, and this was after I had given a guy like 8 weeks of coaching for free, guys. Like I was doing my own version of the alien call, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'll coach you at 4 a.m. for free. Just show up." I was still in the military, so that's the only time I had available to coach. And I was coaching him, and I was coaching him, and I'm getting results. I'm learning, and I'm getting better. And then I had this one lady who said, "Hey, yeah, I'd be more than happy to join your services, check you out." I charged her 275 a month. She paid for like 3 months, so it wasn't like this high ticket offer or nothing like that. But it showed me that serve, 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 and you get what you deserve. So I served the one guy for free. Then I served her for like 3 months. And after I served her, my confidence was getting up. I knew I could coach a bit more. And then I started saying my price, a little with a little more weight, like it's 500, 500. Yeah, 500. So I didn't add a zero out the gate. It took me a little time, but once I got some things going, I definitely added a zero. I added multiple zeros. But that's something that came to my mind, was service is a strategy, because that's how I got my first deal. My first $275 came from service.
Yeah. My first $100 came from service as well. And I didn't have to ask them. They were the one who offered me. They said, "Can I pay you?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can." Of course you can. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
But yeah. So okay. So service is one way that you brand yourself as a leader. Let's talk about week number 5. So everybody's favorite week. Everybody's favorite week, especially the ladies, right? So
Yeah.
ladies, put it in the chat. How many of you like dressing up? How many of you like going shopping? Let's do that. Put a number 1 if you do. So week number 5 inside Branded Like a Leader talks about changing your attire to match your desire. So changing your attire to match your desire. Now, when I first heard the concept, I thought it was just it's just something you just do, right? I didn't understand the the scientific part of it, but there's actually a science behind this, Bobby. I think it said that when you change your attire, well, number one, you end up feeling better. When you feel better, you perform better, you perform differently, but also you end up branding yourself differently in the mind of the ideal client, right? So I noticed Dr. Kroom put a number 1 there. Shout out to Dr. Kroom.
Yes. Yes.
So you end up coming across as differently or as different in the mind of the person that you're serving, and also in sales as well, right? We're not talking about sales right now, but it works for sales. It also works for just branding in general. Like so many people have said to me, well, I want to charge X, Y, and Z. And then I have to politely say to them, listen, if you're going to charge me 10K, you better look like you have 10K.
Yeah.
This better not look like I'm the first 10K that you're getting. You know what I mean, Bobby? Like you have to look like the part. You have to look like you've invested in yourself, and then people can invest in you, right? So changing your attire to match your desire, I would say, is definitely one of the most fun parts about branded like a leader, because it's the time where all of the work that you've been putting in over several weeks, where all of that work comes to bear and you actually start to see the results. But it's like the tippy top of the iceberg. I always tell people like the iceberg, the tippy top is like 20%, the 80% or the bottom is like all of the deep work that you do to figure out who you are, to figure out who your ideal client is, to figure out how you're gonna market, how you're gonna, you know, put the world on notice, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But when you do all of that, and I know for sure, especially with the ladies, when they go shopping and they get an opportunity to put their brand on display, it's normally a very, very exciting time. And to be honest, that's where all of the traction, all of the deals, all of the attention, all of the reputation, and all of the positioning starts to come in. I mean, you have somebody like, let's say, Dr. Kroom. I'm assuming like when she does her practice, she has a certain way that she dresses, and it instills an image or a brand of authority in the mind of her client. That's scientific. That is evidence based, and that is part of the branded like a leader process. So I would say a second tip is to actually dress like the leader that you want to be. If you want to be a leader in X, Y, and Z industry, you have to actually look like you are the leader in X, Y, and Z industry.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I remember Shaan teaching us was the 1 degree up rule. Like if you are talking to an audience and they are, let's say, blue collar tractors, like they work on farms, they make tons of money on the farm, you probably wouldn't want to show up to their farm, even if they're millionaires, dressed in a tuxedo or like this 3-piece suit, because now you're outdressing them by a lot, and they may feel like you're disingenuous, or you're trying to like make them feel lower than, or something like that. So it's just not a good look. So what we also learned during week number 5 was like the 1 degree rule. So if I'm talking to business owners that are used to wearing a shirt and tie, or the button up shirt, open collar, or something like that, then throwing on the blazer is a nice add. It's a nice degree up and can convey that properly. If I'm talking to the truck driver, so to speak, or the tractor repair gentlemen's, then it might be smart for me to wear some jeans and a regular shirt and a blazer, but not to have the three piece and the suede alligators on, right? Like I probably should have on some jeans and maybe the instead of the button up like this, but the what do they call it? It's not the pea coat. It's called a, oh my goodness, I cannot think of the name of it.
You're
It's
referring to like the jacket?
Yeah, it's a type of jacket that we wear here in the States, and you guys probably have it there too, but it's not like this material, but it's more like a sports coat. But yeah, that's something that I thought about. Another thing when it comes to matching your attire to your desire, I realized that when you get on a call with someone and they see you looking sharp as a tack, they seem to be at ease a little bit more. They're like, okay, this is a professional. But like, imagine if you came on a call, you're about to ask for $10,000 or more, $6,000 or something like that, and you had sweatpants on, you had some juice in the background, your hair was wild, and you had like just all kinds of things going on. It's like, are you really going to be able to ask for 10K and then look at them like this and be taken seriously? Like, and be taken seriously, like not in sweatpants usually with their hair all over the place. They're going to be like, are they serious? Did they really just ask me for that amount of money? But if you look the part, like Junior said, and you look like you said this number 10 times over, that you are this number, and you can help them achieve the same status, then they're more likely to obviously break the silence eventually and say, okay, that's a little much. Do you have any other way that I can come into this? But I thought that that was pretty impactful too, Junior. Is just not only looking the part so you can feel the part, but positioning yourself on the call and in the interaction as the expert, creating the power differential and establishing the status.
Yeah, and another reason why I love this topic is because most of the people we work with are already experts. Like most of our clients, they have at least 10, 15, some of them 20 years in their space. So they're already experts. But just like I tell people, if you're not active in, like, if you're not actively or consciously like developing your brand, you don't get the benefits. So even if you're an expert and you don't show up to the call dressed like the expert, the prospect or the client doesn't perceive you as such, even if you are the person. Does that make sense? So it's not even about trying to position. Yes, you are positioning yourself as the expert, but the truth is, most likely you already are the expert. Like it's not a facade. In other ways, like you actually are an expert. But if you don't present yourself as such, you normally don't or aren't perceived as such, and that's just the truth. Like I'm sure most of you know great products that never sell for whatever reason. You know, Bobby, something that I know, me having a marketing background, is that normally it's not necessarily the product, it's about the packaging of that product.
Hmm.
So it's the packaging of you. So how are you packaging yourself as a brand? That's what it's about. Because you can be the expert, but if you don't look the part, it's very difficult to charge expert prices. And that's a pain point that most of the people we work with, like I hear this from most of them. So person comes in, they want to do a coaching business. They'll often tell me, well, I ask them, well, what do you charge right now? They tell me, well, I charge maybe like 150, or I charge like $200 or like 175. So then I ask them, well, what is your experience? What is your expertise? And then they tell me, well, I have 17, 20 years doing X, Y, and Z, or I have a doctorate or a master's degree, etc. So I said to them, well, why are you charging such low prices? And normally, just like the previous ad just showed, it's normally about confidence. It's normally about confidence. But I could take it one step further and say, not only is it just about confidence, it's also about positioning. Because even if you try to ask for that money, if you don't look like that money, chances are you're probably not going to get it. And I've been on both ends of that. I've been on calls where people have, they've asked me to buy stuff for 10K, and then they have a shirt where those shirts where the neck is like it's like falling off.
Yep.
I'm like, bro, like you don't look like you have 10K. Why would I give you 10K? That doesn't make sense to me. Is this like your first 10K? Are you gonna disappear? Like I don't know. Like But anyways, it puts people at ease knowing that you are a professional, because nobody wants to deal with an amateur. Nobody wants to deal with an amateur. Everybody wants to deal with somebody who knows what they're doing, who's done it before, who's been there before, and who could take care of them once they come in. And that's pretty much what people are looking for. Guys, we're going to go to a quick break, right? But when we come back, more on branding yourself as a leader. I don't know, put a couple questions in the chat. Like if you have any questions, any comments, then we will be reading comments when we come back. I notice Wayne has put something in the comments. We will read it. If you have any like questions or any more comments when we come back, we'll be taking those. So go ahead and put them in. We'll be right back after this quick break.
In brand clarity, exactly what you're going to get is what it sounds like. Clarity for your brand. What is your color? What is your logo? What is your unique value proposition? Who are you speaking to? Why? How should you speak to them? How should I position myself? That's what you're going to learn in brand clarity. You need other people to have the same clarity on your brand that you do. But this is the gap. If you don't have clarity on your brand, then no one else is going to have clarity on your brand either. It's like messaging. Your message sounds clear to you, but is your end user receiving the value that you're trying to provide? I guarantee you that after you go through brand clarity, they will, and so will you. And that's how you'll scale your brand. From Harriet Tubman to Sojourner Truth to Rosa Parks, we have always been on a freedom run. Your LLC, your S Corp, C Corp, your business entity is what's going to give you the ability to go from your job, your industry wages, your 9 to 5, to the life of your dreams and the dream of your life. This is about you attaining all of the things that you could only possibly imagine and that our ancestors saw as not even being possible. Your freedom run? This is your freedom run. This is your moment. We're going to show you how to establish yourself as a business entity so you can go and come as you choose. There was a time when we needed permission slips to go from plantation to plantation. When you get a little bit older, you need permission slips to go from class to class. And when you get a little bit older, you get a vacation for 2 weeks, and then you have to come back after 2 weeks to your job, right? That's what they call it now, the 9 to 5, the gig. You might you work for 50 weeks and you get 2 off. The freedom run is when you establish your LLC and you're free for the rest of your life.
All right, guys. So welcome back. This is Breakfast with the Brand. Bobby, it's been a pretty interesting show so far. Very good, very informational, I must say.
Yes,
All
it
right.
has been. And as I'm going through some of the memories that I had with Breakfast with Branded Like a Leader and how it converted to Breakfast with the Brand, like I came in to Branded Like a Leader off of the Alien Call. So the Breakfast with the Brand is like a version of the Alien Call, but it's like had non-alien hours. And I remember Shaan's brand being so strong that I woke up at 4 a.m. in the morning to get on the call. Like that's brand like strength. And I also remember us putting the world on notice. I think that might have been week 1 or week 2, something like that, where we put the world on notice after doing our origin brand story, our 5Y, the 5W framework and everything. And as we were going through that, I was like, man, if my brand could wake people up in the morning, what type of impact would I have to have? If my brand could get people up at 4 a.m. consistently, weekly, what type of impact would I have to have? And that's exactly what I did to get some of my follow-on customers. I didn't set the call at 4 a.m., but I set a strong brand out there. I was consistent about it. And every week I showed up with the value. And lo and behold, people started to register. And as people started to register, we did the whole close from the stage approach, which is instrumental to getting some of your first customers. So it was a phenomenal program. Like that whole concept that they taught of how we can do that and how to bring people in groves by doing one message, like it was transformative. That entire process.
Yes, sir. So Bobby, I wanna get a couple comments and questions here.
Hmm.
So let's get the first one. So Tia has a question, and that's a really great format. Put a Q if you have a question. Put a Q next to your comment if you have a question. So Tia says, "How do you brand yourself as a leader when you feel like an imposter? Not that you don't have what it takes to help others, but in a sense that you're holding on to keep your own life together and focus on building as you're gaining clarity on where you are going in business." So Tia, that is a great question. Excellent question. So what I would say to you is that find your space. So everybody's an expert in something. That's number one. Like the stuff that you're an expert in, I'm a novice in, right? So everybody's an expert in something. And I tell people, look at your free E. So what is your education? And education here doesn't mean like only university education. Education means like what do you actually know? Like formal and informal. What do you know a lot about? And the way I like to think about it here is if one of my friends, let's say one of my friends, God forbid, was like kidnapped or something, and then somebody called me in the middle of the night. Like they woke me up, called my phone in the middle of the night, and the friend was on the phone and they said that they're gonna let me go if you could answer this one question. I just woke up, middle of the night. They call me, they say, for me to escape here, you have to answer this one question. My question to you is, what would that question be about? What would the subject of that question be about? Like to save your friend's life, if you had to just wake up and answer a question, or rather like answer it in your sleep, what would that question be? What would the subject of that question be? And once you answer that, then you'll know what you're an expert in. So that's how you do that. The other part is just document. So Gary Vaynerchuk has this good this theory that I like this way of thinking that I like, where he says you document your journey. You don't try to just create content. So creating content, you're like posing for the camera, you're like trying to get the right shots, you're basically doing what Tia's talking about. Like you're trying to really and truly almost like direct a movie, so to speak. Now, you're finding it very difficult to play that character in your own movie because you feel like you're not where you're supposed to be, where you need to be right now. So, what I would say to you is figure out how you can document that journey. Documentation over creation. Documentation means taking people on the journey with you, starting where you are with what you have, with the resources that you have, with the knowledge that you have, and allowing your audience to grow and to evolve with you as you grow and as you evolve as a brand. And that's how you do that. Because if you do that here, then you're not being, fake, you're not being a fraud, you're being like your authentic self. You're starting with what you have, where you are, okay? And you're just telling people the truth about where you're going, right? And another tip too, when you put out content, don't tell people what to do. Don't tell people what to do. Tell people what you're doing. So say, this is how I overcame this trouble. Don't say, this is what you should do to overcome this challenge. Say, this is what I'm doing to overcome that challenge. And that's how you do that.
Yeah, I agree, Junior. Like that's something that's helped out a lot. And I'm taking copious notes here. I love the direction that we decided to go in this morning because it's just refreshing my memory of the basics. And those basics is where all the money is, so to speak. It's like you can make $1 billion with the basics, as Michael Jordan would say. So, with that being said, one thing that I thought about with groups is a lot of people are trying to figure out where to get their first customers. And a lot of individuals online are getting their first customers in groups. So they'll go to a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group or some type of community where the people in that group are looking for the same thing. And one of the quickest ways to get booted out of a group is to tell people what to do. Because then they're going to think like you're trying to sell people or you're trying to put yourself out there. And poach or stuff, something like that. But one thing that I found really effective inside of groups, if that's what you're doing, here's what worked for me, right? Is going in the group and then posting in the group on what is working for me and what's not working for me. More people hear about what's working and what they need to do and what they should be doing. Not a lot of people hear what's not working, what didn't work, what was ineffective. So what you do when you take the, hey, this is what didn't work, this was ineffective. When you take that approach, you're already sticking out like a sore thumb in a good way. You're sticking out in a way that says, this person might be telling the truth. Or, this person's not saying what everybody else said. I had a prospect yesterday that I could not qualify based on her situation. So I was on a sales call, but I couldn't qualify her based off of what she told me. And I didn't try to sell her something that she did not qualify for. And that's a part of being ethical. That's a part of my morals, values, and principles. That's a part of what we learned in Branded Like a Leader, because you take your brand everywhere, even on the sales call, even on the cold calls. So when I was on there, she resonated with my brand. And another thing that Shaan had taught us is your brand is what people say about you when you leave the room or when you enter the room, right? So what do you think she's going to say to her friend about our company when she told me, thank you for not being so pushy and salesy and understanding my situation and giving me the space to make the best situation or the best decision for me and my family. Thank you. Please stay in touch with me. Like, that was how that conversation went. So what do you think she's going to say to someone else that she knows that may be looking for a brand? She's going to be like, hey, man, those guys are great, and if you can't afford their services, they're not going to shove them down your throat. By the way, they're actually going to give you some great information and show you how you can stay in touch with them. Oh, but because you do have it, I highly recommend that you go with them. And that's what you want to do, is you want to build a sales pipeline, right? And sometimes that sales pipeline is filled with disqualified prospects that know qualified prospects. Imagine that. A disqualified prospect that knows a qualified prospect and sends them your way because you treated them right, because you upheld your brand and your brand preceded itself.
100%. So let's get another comment. So I noticed Wayne put something here. So I'll read it. So Wayne says, I'm actually at a disabled vet activity right now, and meeting a veteran in trouble requires that I look authentic, and I always do, to make myself more approachable. But if I meet community leaders, attend an event like my father returning from his honor flight this weekend, but I don't go full formal almost ever. But my brand has much different needs. So Wayne says, great information. So thank you, Wayne. Thank you very much. I don't think he had a question. I think he was just making a comment. But Wayne, if you do have a question, then go ahead and put it in. And Bobby, you're also a veteran, right? So Wayne, maybe the two of you should connect and
Yeah,
talk a little bit more. Yeah, Bobby's a Marine, 12 years as a Marine. Yeah, definitely.
Wayne's a good
Okay.
guy. I know Wayne.
Oh, you know him? Okay, very nice. All right, great, great. Okay, guys. So I don't see any other questions right now. So let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. So let us go into another topic, which is putting the world on notice. So week number 3 of the program stands for putting the world on notice. So WON, world on notice. And what that means is basically letting people know about what you do. Okay. Now, to make it more, I guess, tangible, more formal, we call it content creation. You might know it as content creation. So how do you create content? Now, most people don't realize, Bobby, that creating content is a science. It's a formula to creating content. And you don't just create stuff. Sometimes you just create stuff and it works. But if you're looking to attract clients, if you're looking to do something like very specific, then there's a specific formula that you use. Now, that specific formula, that's something that I'm giving away on the inside. Okay, but I will be talking a little bit about it here on the outside. All right. And what that is that it starts with research. Like, you have to know, what are people actually talking about? If you're gonna be a leader, You have to know how to enter a conversation that's already going on in the mind of your prospect. So, how are you researching? How are you finding out what's trending? What's going on? What is the state of the market? What do people need right now? Right? How do you find that out? You need to have a process to find out or to research content topics. And then when you do your content topics, it's worth it to stick to your niche, Bobby. And like I said, like those micro changes of telling people what you're doing and not telling people what to do, that makes a world of difference. So if you're in business, if you're producing business content, like make business like strictly business content for business owners. Now, some people like motivation, some people like education, some people like entertainment. Entertainment, like UFC, like, all of those other platforms, they hold attention. Okay. So now there's a trick here, Bobby. So the trick is like you could be very entertaining. Okay.
Hmm.
So you could be entertaining and then you could grow your numbers, you could grow your viewership, you could grow your audience. But then if you are too entertaining, not educational enough, you get more people watching you, but it doesn't mean that more of those people are your ideal client.
I see.
Now, you could make more specific kind of content that doesn't get as much viewership, okay, but it gets the viewership from the right people. Now, which one is wrong, which one is right, it really and truly depends on the kind of brand that you're looking to build. But I would say, just like with all things marketing, it's all about testing. So you put out content, you measure what matters. So how many people are viewing the content on each platform that you put it out on? How are those viewers converting? Who is that audience? Is it the right audience? Do you have to switch the way you make the content? Right? So which content is getting you the most traction? Like all of those things are stuff that you're supposed to be measuring, okay? So that you could correct and adjust. Bobby's audience would be different from mine. Mine might be different from yours. So you have to find out ultimately what works for your specific audience, and then you optimize for that. Now, Bobby, for the person that's just starting off, who may be in the position that you were in several years ago, what would be your approach, knowing what you know now? If I was just starting off, branded like a leader, and I was in week number 3, will on notice, what should my approach be for producing content? Based on, like, I know, like, not where you were back then, but based on what you know right now, what would you advise? What would your approach be?
A 30-day content calendar, period. Like 30 days of content that, and just get your thoughts out. Because one of the last things you want to do is break a social contract before you get it going. So for me, it was so hard to stay consistent as my intensity and motivation started to wane, as those things started to run out. So when I got the assignment, go live every day, post 2, 3 times a day, whatever it was, and don't stop, right? Like I was excited. I was like, yeah, let's go. And then a week in, 2 weeks in, started running out of topics. 3 weeks in, my throat's tired. My like audience isn't showing up. Like nobody's really coming out anymore. My posts sound the same. It's like I'm just saying the same thing over and over again. And then by week 4 or month 1, I'm done. I'm posting here and there. I'm posting on different things. Like if there's no continuity, no connection, no storyline, no drama, so to speak, like there's no connection. And if there's no connection, there's no conversation. And if there's no conversation, there's no conversion, right? So, what I would highly recommend to the first person starting out, putting the world on notice, pick one platform to start with, just one, um, and then make 30 days worth of content for that one platform and schedule it. You may be able to do that in 2 days. All right. And then once you got that one platform, choose your next one. Because the world on notice says we want everybody to know on every place that they can. But what I tried to do back then was I tried to go live on every platform at one time and like post on every platform at one time. And at the end of the day, what I realized was that was just unsustainable. It was unsustainable. So that's what I would recommend, Junior, is one platform, 30 days of content, take the 2 days you need to do to get it out there, and then do the exact same thing on the next platform instead of trying to do it all at one time on one day at a time, like going one day at a time, trying to come up with a topic and post on 4 different platforms and respond to all those platforms. It's insane.
Yeah, I think the whole point of Will on Notice is to establish presence. Like when you do business with people, people normally will Google you. So if I'm, buying something from Bobby, sometimes I'll go to Google and I'll type in Bobby Jackson and I'll just see what comes up. So an exercise we often do inside of the program is we say, well, Google yourself. So let's say Dr. Michelle is inside, which she is. We'll say, Dr. Michelle, Google yourself and see what comes up.
Mhm.
It's very nice, and it also builds credibility when you can Google yourself and then you could find stuff about yourself. It tells people that you're not a scam. You're not a scam. This is a real person. This is a real company doing real business. Like it just puts the person's minds at ease. So I think having a presence across different platforms is good. What I don't think is sustainable, like you were saying, is in the beginning, trying to manage like 5 different platforms all by yourself. It's
Mhm.
just not sustainable. But if I absolutely had to do it, what I would say or what I would advise is like, do what I would do is I would create long form content like videos, like blogs, and I would find ways to repurpose those pieces of content for each platform. That way I don't have to create a separate piece of content for each platform. So, for example, if I'm doing a YouTube video, I would take that YouTube video and turn it to a Facebook reel. I'll
Mhm.
take that same Facebook reel, repurpose or reorganize it for IG, and then also post it on TikTok. Then I would take a quotation from that reel, put it in Canva or put it in another software, turn it into a worded post that I would post on X in the form of text, and that I would post on IG in the form of a picture. Like there are multiple ways you could leverage one piece of content, a couple pieces of content to produce, 30 and sometimes 60 days worth of content just from doing like one content piece.
Yeah.
But that's for another session. All right, guys. So we're about to wrap up. But before we do, just want to say thank you so much. If you've enjoyed today's show, then go ahead, put some flames in the chat for us. Also, I have a quick announcement. So we do have a webinar coming up May 17th at 7 p.m. May 17th at 7 p.m. It's 100% free of charge. And on that webinar, Shaan will be talking about how he went from 0 to 7 figures, building his brand online with no social media following and no email list. So, this is for people who are literally in the beginning phases of building their brand. If you want to learn how we were able to do that and how you could leverage some of the same strategies for yourself to go to the next level of your brand, then you want to stay tuned. It's going to be May 17th at 7 p.m., 100% free of charge. Everybody that's viewing this should register. Okay, I don't have the registration link right now. It's literally a new webinar, but I would recommend like sending myself a message. You could message me on any platform, Junior Frederick, or send Bobby Jackson on any platform. Send Bobby a message. We'll get you signed up. But we will be having that link for you very, very soon. But
Yes.
guys, just hold it down. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday, right?
That's right.
We'll be back. Let me tell you something. I thought yesterday was Friday. I'm living in the future, man. I thought yesterday was Friday. All right, guys. So tomorrow is Thursday. We'll be back same time, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a phenomenal day, and let's grow. Speak soon. Bye
Scroll.
bye. All right.